The birthday that didn't matter. I wasn't asking for gifts. I wasn't asking for money. I just wanted one day, one single day where my family remembered I existed. My 18th birthday was supposed to be different. For years, my birthdays had always come second to something else. Dad's work schedule. My sister's school events. My little brother getting sick. There was always a reason. But 18 felt special. It was supposed to be the day I officially stepped into adulthood. For months, I'd been planning a small birthday dinner. Nothing expensive. Just pizza, a cake, and a few close friends. My mom had even promised me, "This year will be different, sweetheart." I believed her. Maybe that was my mistake. 3 days before my birthday, my younger sister Emma got dumped by her boyfriend. They had only dated for 4 months. 4 months. But the way she cried, you'd think she'd lost the love of her life. She locked herself in her room. Refused to eat. Refused to talk. Refused to stop posting sad quotes online. My parents immediately shifted into emergency mode. Mom spent every hour comforting her. Dad canceled work meetings to cheer her up. Meanwhile, nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody mentioned my birthday. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured everyone was just distracted. Then, the night before my birthday, Mom called me into the kitchen. The look on her face made my stomach sink. "Sweetheart, we need to talk." Whenever parents say that, nothing good follows. She sat down across from me. "We've decided to cancel your birthday dinner." I blinked. "What?" Mom sighed dramatically. "Emma is heartbroken. We think celebrating right now would be insensitive." For a second, I honestly thought she was joking. Then I realized she wasn't. "You can't be serious." Dad crossed his arms. "Your sister is going through a difficult time." I stared at them. "So my birthday doesn't matter? Don't make this about yourself." The words hit harder than they should have. Don't make this about yourself. On my birthday. I looked at Emma. She stood behind them with tears in her eyes. But something about her expression bothered me. Because underneath the fake sadness, I saw satisfaction. And that's when she spoke. "Nobody understands how much pain I'm in." The room went silent. Then she pointed at me. "You only care about your stupid birthday." Something inside me finally snapped. I stood up so fast my chair nearly fell over. "My birthday has nothing to do with your 4-month relationship." Emma gasped dramatically. Mom immediately rushed to her side. Dad glared at me. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Because for the first time in my life, I was tired of being the family member everyone ignored. And I had no idea that what happened the next morning would completely change how I saw my family forever. Alone on my 18th birthday. Mom was loading bags into the car. Dad was carrying coolers. "What's going on?" Mom smiled. "We decided Emma needs a change of scenery." My stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" Dad grabbed his keys. "We're taking her on a weekend trip." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because I genuinely couldn't believe what I was hearing. A trip? Mom nodded. She's been through a lot. My hand started shaking. Today's my birthday. Neither of them responded. Instead, Mom handed me a list. A list. Like I was some employee. "Make sure your brother eats lunch at noon." Don't let him stay on video games too long. Fold the laundry. Feed the dog. I stared at the paper. Then at her. You want me to babysit? Mom sighed dramatically. Please don't start. Start what? This attitude. I felt something crack inside me. Not anger. Not sadness. Something worse. Disappointment. The kind that comes when you finally realize someone isn't going to change. Ever. Emma walked past me toward the car. Then she stopped. For a second, I thought maybe she was about to apologize. Instead she smirked. A tiny little smile. One nobody else noticed. But I did. And suddenly everything made sense. The cancelled party. The trip. The timing. She had wanted this. She wanted all the attention. And she'd gotten exactly what she wanted. Dad honked the horn. Mom climbed into the passenger seat. Neither of them hugged me. Neither of them said happy birthday. Not even once. Then they drove away. Leaving me standing in the driveway. Watching their car disappear down the street. On my 18th birthday. I went back inside. The house felt empty. My little brother was still asleep upstairs. I sat alone at the kitchen table. And that's when I noticed something. A small envelope sticking out from under the fruit bowl. It had my name written on it. The handwriting wasn't Mom's. It wasn't Dad's. And it definitely wasn't Emma's. Confused, I picked it up. Inside was a short handwritten note. Just one sentence. But after reading it, I completely froze. Because whoever wrote it knew exactly how badly my family had treated me. And they were about to reveal a secret my parents had hidden for years. The letter nobody was supposed to see. The note contained only 11 words, but those 11 words shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. My hands trembled as I unfolded the paper. The message was short. Painfully short. It read. You deserve to know the truth about what happened. No name. No explanation. Nothing else. I turned the paper over. Blank. For several minutes, I just stared at it. What truth? Who wrote this? And why leave it on my birthday? I checked the envelope again. That's when I noticed something tucked inside the corner. A second piece of paper. An old photograph. My heart stopped. The picture was taken years ago. I looked about 10. Emma was maybe 8. Mom and Dad stood behind us. At first, it looked normal. Then I noticed something strange. Written on the back was a date. The same date as my 10th birthday. A birthday I barely remembered. But suddenly flashes came rushing back. The cake. The decorations. My friends arriving. And then. Everything being cancelled. I remembered crying in my room. I remembered Emma throwing a tantrum. I remembered Mom telling me we had to postpone everything because Emma wasn't feeling well. The party never happened. Just like this year. A chill ran through my body. This wasn't the first time. It was a pattern. A pattern I had spent years pretending not to see. As I sat there thinking, my phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Jake. Happy birthday, man. Check your porch. Confused, I opened the front door. Outside sat a small box. Inside were cupcakes from my favorite bakery and a card signed by all my friends. The moment I read their messages, I broke down crying. Not because of the cupcakes. Not because of the gifts. But because strangers seemed to care more about me than my own family did. For the first time all day, someone had made me feel important. I spent the afternoon with my little brother, Noah. Unlike everyone else, he hadn't forgotten. He was only 7. But when he woke up, he ran downstairs carrying a crumpled piece of paper. "I made this for you." It was a birthday card. The letters were crooked. The drawing looked nothing like me. It was perfect. I hugged him tightly. "Thank you." Noah smiled. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Mom said birthdays aren't important anymore." I froze. "What?" He shrugged. "She said Emma needs love more than you do." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Because hearing it from Noah somehow hurt even more. My own mother had actually said that. Not just implied it. Said it. Out loud. That night, after Noah went to bed, I sat alone in the living room. The anger I'd felt all day was gone. Only sadness remained. 18 years. 18 years of trying to earn love that should have been given freely. 18 years of being the easy child. The responsible child. The child who never caused trouble. And where had it gotten me? Alone. Forgotten. Ignored. I looked again at the mysterious note. "You deserve to know the truth." Maybe I did. Because deep down, I was starting to realize something. This wasn't about Emma's breakup. It wasn't about my birthday. It wasn't even about one bad decision. My family had been choosing Emma over me for years. And the person who left that note clearly knew why. The next morning, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. But when I answered, an elderly woman's voice spoke. And her very first words made my heart stop. "I'm your grandmother, and there's something your parents never told you. The secret my parents buried." For 18 years, I thought my parents loved my sister more. Then my grandmother told me something that changed everything, and somehow made it hurt even worse. My heart pounded as I held the phone. For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. My grandmother? That didn't make sense. I hadn't seen my grandmother in years. Not since I was a child. In fact, Mom rarely talked about her. Whenever I asked, she would quickly change the subject. "Grandma?" I finally whispered. The woman on the phone sighed. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm sorry it took me this long to contact you." Her voice sounded shaky. Like she had been carrying something heavy for a very long time. I sat down slowly. "What is going on?" There was silence on the other end. Then she said something I never expected. "Your birthday was always important to me." Tears instantly filled my eyes. Because those were the first genuine birthday wishes I'd heard from family. The first. On my 18th birthday. "I'm sorry," she continued. "I should have called years ago." "Why didn't you?" Another long silence. Then came the answer. "Because your parents didn't want me involved." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath. "Your mother and I had a huge argument when you were 10. The age from the photograph. My 10th birthday." Suddenly everything felt connected. Grandma continued. "That was the year I accused your parents of favoring Emma." I closed my eyes. Even hearing someone else say it felt painful. Because it confirmed what I'd always suspected. They denied it, of course, she said. But everyone could see it. I swallowed hard. Everyone. People had noticed. The favoritism had been that obvious. Grandma's voice softened. You were such a sweet child. Every time Emma wanted something, you gave it up. I remembered. The vacations. The gifts. The cancelled plans. The forgotten achievements. All of it. I told your parents they were hurting you. My chest tightened. What did they say? Grandma laughed bitterly. They said you were mature enough to understand. The words hit me like a truck. Because that had always been their excuse. You're mature. You're responsible. You're understanding. Translation. You're the child we expect to sacrifice everything. I wiped away tears. So they cut you off because you defended me? Yes. I sat in stunned silence. For years, I'd thought nobody noticed. Nobody cared. But someone had. Someone had actually stood up for me. And they had lost their relationship with my parents because of it. Then Grandma said something else. Something that broke my heart completely. I sent you birthday cards every year. My breath caught. What? Every year since you turned 10. I couldn't speak. I sent letters. Gifts. Money. Messages. My hands started shaking. And every single one came back unopened. The room spun. No. No, no, no. My parents wouldn't do that. Would they? But deep down, I already knew the answer. Grandma began crying. I never stopped loving you. That was it. That was the moment I completely broke down. Because for 18 years, I had believed she abandoned me. And all along, she had been trying to reach me. My parents had simply made sure I never knew. After we talked for nearly an hour, Grandma gave me her address. Before hanging up, she said one final thing. If you ever need a place where you're wanted, my door is open. Wanted. Such a simple word. Yet it meant more to me than anything my parents had ever given me. That evening, Mom called. For the first time all weekend. Not to ask how I was. Not to wish me a happy birthday. Not to apologize. Her first words were, "Why aren't you answering Emma's texts?" I stared at the phone in disbelief. And in that moment, something inside me finally changed. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't interested in protecting their feelings anymore. And when they came home the next day, they were about to discover that the quiet, obedient son they took for granted was gone. For the first time, I said no. The moment my parents walked through the front door, they expected the same obedient son they had always ignored. Instead, they met someone they didn't recognize anymore. The next afternoon, their car pulled into the driveway. I watched through the living room window. Emma was laughing. Laughing. The same girl who had supposedly been too heartbroken to let me celebrate my 18th birthday. Mom looked relaxed. Dad looked happy. The family getaway seemed to have worked perfectly. At least for them. As soon as they entered the house, Mom smiled. Everything go okay while we were gone? I didn't answer. For the first time in my life, I simply looked at her. Really looked at her. And I realized something. She wasn't asking because she cared. She was asking out of habit. Dad dropped his bags. How was your brother? Fine. My short answer made him raise an eyebrow. Then Emma walked into the room. Immediately, she started talking about restaurants, beaches, and shopping. Nobody mentioned my birthday. Not once. Not a single word. I felt strangely calm. A few days earlier, that would have crushed me. Now, it only confirmed what I already knew. Finally, Mom noticed my expression. What's wrong with you? I laughed softly. That question was almost funny. What's wrong with me? After 18 years, she was finally asking. Just not for the reason she should have. I stood up. You forgot my birthday. The room instantly fell silent. Mom rolled her eyes. Oh, we're still doing this? Still doing this. As if my birthday was some childish tantrum. No, I replied quietly. You explained it. Their expressions changed. Because this wasn't the response they expected. For years, I had always backed down. Always apologized. Always accepted their excuses. Not this time. You left me home alone. Mom crossed her arms. Your sister was suffering. I nodded. And what about me? Neither of them answered. Because there was no answer. Emma scoffed. You have no idea what heartbreak feels like. I turned toward her. For once, I didn't feel angry. Just tired. So because a guy dumped you after 4 months, I don't deserve a birthday? Her face turned red. That's not what happened. Then explain it. She couldn't. Because she knew it was true. The room fell silent again. Then I pulled something from my pocket. The photograph. The one from my 10th birthday. Mom's face immediately changed. Dad's jaw tightened. They recognized it. Of course they did. You've been doing this for years. Neither of them spoke. Every time Emma wants attention, I disappear. That's ridiculous, Mom snapped. I looked directly at her. Really? Then I started listing things. The cancelled birthday when I was 10. The school award ceremony they skipped. The soccer championship they missed. The graduation dinner they cut short because Emma was upset. One memory after another. One disappointment after another. By the time I finished, nobody was speaking. Even Emma looked uncomfortable. Then I dropped the final bomb. I talked to Grandma. The reaction was immediate. Mom went pale. Dad stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. What did she tell you? He demanded. Everything. The birthday cards. The letters. The gifts. The years she spent trying to contact me. The years they spent keeping her away. Mom looked horrified. Dad looked furious. But neither denied it. Because they couldn't. The truth was finally standing in the middle of the room. And everyone could see it. Then Mom began crying. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Until she spoke. We only wanted what was best for this family. Those words broke whatever remained inside me. Because after everything, she still didn't understand. I shook my head slowly. No. My voice cracked. You wanted what was easiest. Tears filled my eyes. But it was never what was best for me. The silence that followed felt endless. Then I said the words I'd been holding back my entire life. The words I never imagined I'd have the courage to say. I'm done being the child who sacrifices everything. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And for the first time ever, my parents looked scared. Because they were finally realizing something. The son they had ignored for 18 years had reached his limit. And they were about to learn that some damage can't be undone with a simple apology. The place where I was finally wanted. My mother thought I would cool down after a few days. She didn't realize I had already made a decision that would change our family forever. The house was unusually quiet after our argument. Nobody knew what to say. For once, there were no excuses. No lectures. No attempts to tell me I was being dramatic. Just silence. And honestly, the silence hurt less than their words ever had. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed staring at my phone. Grandma's number was still on the screen. I thought about everything she told me. The birthday cards. The letters. The gifts that never reached me. The years she spent trying to stay in my life. For the first time in a very long time, I felt something strange. Hope. A small, fragile hope. The next morning, I called her. She answered immediately. Almost like she'd been waiting by the phone. Hello. Grandma. The moment she heard my voice, she started crying. Not loud sobs. Just quiet tears. The kind that come from years of missing someone. I was wondering when you'd call. I swallowed hard. Is your offer still open? There was a pause. Then her voice broke. Of course it is. That afternoon, I packed a bag. Not because I was running away. Because I needed space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space away from a family that only seemed to notice me when I stopped giving them what they wanted. As I carried my bag downstairs, Mom spotted me first. Her eyes widened. What are you doing? I'm leaving for a while. The panic on her face was immediate. Leaving? Dad walked into the room. What does that mean? I took a deep breath. I'm staying with Grandma. The color drained from Mom's face. No. Just one word. But it sounded more like fear than anger. You can't. For years, that sentence would have stopped me. Not anymore. I'm 18. Mom looked like she might cry. Dad looked frustrated. Emma stood frozen near the stairs. And suddenly I realized something. This was the first time they'd ever been afraid of losing me. Not because they loved me. Because they had always assumed I'd stay. No matter how badly they treated me. No matter how many times they put me last. I'd always stayed. Until now. Mom stepped forward. Please don't do this. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because hearing her beg felt unreal. For years, I'd begged for attention. For appreciation. For one birthday that mattered. Now she was the one asking. And somehow it was too late. Then something unexpected happened. My little brother Noah ran into the room. You're leaving. I knelt beside him. I'll still see you, okay? He wrapped his tiny arms around me. Promise? My throat tightened. I promise. Out of everyone in that house. He was the only person who made leaving difficult. The only one who had never treated me like I mattered less. When I finally walked toward the door, Mom started crying. Real tears. But none of it changed the truth. Their sadness didn't erase 18 years of hurt. It didn't erase forgotten birthdays. Or missed achievements. Or the feeling of being invisible in my own family. I picked up my bag. Opened the front door. And walked away. For the first time in my life. Nobody was asking me to sacrifice my happiness for someone else. An hour later, I arrived at Grandma's house. The moment she opened the door, I froze. Because hanging in her hallway were 18 framed birthday cards. One for every year of my life. Every single birthday she had missed. Every card she had tried to send. Every message my parents had hidden from me. And standing there, looking at those cards, I finally broke down. Because for the first time in years, I felt loved. The years they stole from us. Grandma spent the next few days showing me everything my parents had hidden. Boxes filled with birthday gifts. Letters she had written every year. Photographs she had hoped to take with me. Each item felt like proof that someone had loved me all along. For the first time, I felt at peace. Mom called every day. Dad left countless messages. But I wasn't ready to answer. Then one evening, Noah called me crying. The house felt different without me. A few days later, Grandma convinced me to meet my parents. When I arrived, Mom was already crying. Dad looked exhausted. For the first time, neither of them defended their actions. Instead, they apologized. Not with excuses. Not with explanations. Just apologies. And for the first time in 18 years, Emma spoke honestly too. She admitted she had enjoyed being the center of attention and never realized how much it had hurt me. It wasn't enough to erase the past. But it was a start. Healing didn't happen overnight. For months, I kept my distance. I stayed with Grandma while finishing school. My parents started attending family counseling. Something they should have done years earlier. Slowly, they began changing. Dad started showing up. Mom stopped making excuses. And Emma finally learned that being loved didn't mean taking love away from someone else. The biggest surprise came from Noah. He became the bridge between everyone. Whenever things became uncomfortable, he reminded us why we were trying. Because despite everything, we were still a family. One day, Mom handed me a small box. Inside was a birthday candle shaped like the number 18. She had kept it all year. "I know I can't give you your birthday back," she whispered. "But I'm sorry I made you feel forgotten." For the first time, I believed she meant it. And that was the day I decided to forgive them. Not because they deserved it. Because I deserved peace. Chapter 9, My Real Birthday. 6 months later, Grandma helped organize something special. A birthday party. Not for my 19th birthday. The celebration I never got. Friends came. Family came. Even Noah helped decorate. There was cake, music, laughter, and something I hadn't felt in years. Belonging. Before we cut the cake, Grandma stood up. Holding one of the birthday cards she had written years ago. Through tears, she said. "A birthday isn't about presents. It's about reminding someone they're loved. And today, I want you to know that you always were." The room fell silent. I looked around. At Grandma. At Noah. At my parents. Even at Emma. For the first time, nobody was competing for attention. Nobody was being ignored. We were simply together. And that's when I realized something. The saddest birthday of my life had led me to the people who truly cared about me. My parents couldn't change the past. Neither could I. But they were finally trying to be better. And sometimes, that's where healing begins. As everyone sang happy birthday, I closed my eyes and made a wish. Not for gifts. Not for revenge. Just for one thing. A future where nobody in the family ever felt invisible again. The end. Red Heart.